Justin, I appreciate it. Yeah, like you said, kind of, I put this together, and again, I at any time, let me please feel free to interrupt, put a chat in, or put the question in a chat box, and I'd be more than happy to kind of, explain something a little bit more. Originally when I kind of put this presentation together, I didn't know how much X's and O's I would get into it. I do have a little bit of film, so might have to just make sure it doesn't get too laggy. But I do have a little bit of film to show, kind of how we kind of molded this offense and kind of how we think of it. So with that said, it's not really, as we talk about it a little bit more, it's not specific to a type of offense. So if you're a wing T guy, I think there's, when I say, and we'll get into more talk about layups and what that is, but I talk about, layups all the time. And I'll go into explaining that. But it doesn't matter what offense you're in. We are a spread RPO team. It's what we do. It's who we are. Kind of hang our hat on that. But if you're an air raid person, if you're a wing T person, it doesn't really matter. So it's more of a way of thinking about the passing game, and then to kind of form, again, your total passing game and your whole offense. So my cut-ups are I have actually a run play and a pass play, and show how we marry those two together. So again, thank you guys all. You guys could be, I think right after this, I have, I'm going to be jetting out of my office and trying to spend a little bit more time with family. But thank you guys for tuning in. One thing I can say is our profession isn't like any other. There's a scoreboard on Friday nights, and a lot of people look at that and define whether you're a failure, whether you're succeeding. However, I think we know as coaches, it's about developing men at the end of the day. But at the same time, we know we got to win ball games, or we're not going to be able to keep our jobs. It's kind of how it is. I do think it's awesome, this platform that Coach G has put together on Zoom. Again, the ability to connect coaches all over the country. I know some of my coaches have actually asked coaches, other high school coaches, just to kind of connect on Zoom and just kind of, have that one-on-one, just kind of talking ball. And it's just an awesome way. And again, we kind of stumbled across because we had to. And again, thanks Coach G for having me on again. It's flattering, said nice things about my previous clinic presentation. And again, that was on, getting your first head coaching job. And I do appreciate him following up for me, because I was saying, like, sometimes I don't really, sometimes when I'm in season, I feel like, everything is A, B, C, D, game Friday, a little recovery on Saturday, back into game planning, and you're all over it for, 10, 11, 12, 13 weeks or more. So you kind of get in the groove in the off season, as a head coach, you do, I wear a lot of hats, I got to do a better job, of delegating some things, but I do have an awesome staff. But, it could be recruiting one day, it could be social media one day. And sometimes, I think it's, head coach organization is really important, but I do thank Coach for following up with me. And then hopefully you guys get something out of this. So a little bit about me. I actually go by Coach Cam. There was I think a coach that was my first high school I worked at full time was Chamberlain High School, and there was a Coach Jones that had been there for about 15 years. So I was a young coach. I think I was 23, 24 years old. So Coach Cam is what I went by. It's kind of stuck ever since. Originally from right outside Charlotte, North Carolina, a town called Weddington. They play a little football there now. When I was there, it was, at the infancy stages. I think they won a state championship last year, the year before. So pretty good football in that area. I graduated from the University of South Carolina, sports and entertainment management major. Went there, thought I was going to walk on. I didn't know what I didn't know about recruiting. I thought I was, a really good quarterback. Turns out I was pretty average, but I do love the game. So again, sports and entertainment management. Then right after that, I had an internship as an operations assistant at Raymond James Stadium. So I worked with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and USF Bulls. And then I guess that carries a little bit more weight now that the Bucs just came off a Super Bowl. However, when I was there, we ran through coaches, Raheem Morris, Greg Schiano, it was just it was like changing the guard. It was not a very good, a good team to work for. Not that they were bad, no, it was just more on the operation side, but they've came a long way. And USF was under the transition with they just said the name slipping my mind. But they had they just had a transition at USF, and it was right before they kind of hit their stride. So my coaching in Florida, my first, I went, had an internship in Florida. And from a balcony of my apartment, I could see a high school and a football field. And I just knew I wanted to get in coaching. So I emailed the athletic director kind of out of the blue. And he said, hey, show up to this meeting. And that was like a player interest meeting, met the coach, kind of gave me some practice times. And then I just kind of kept sticking around, film practices, and just kind of did whatever I could. I didn't know how good they were at the time. They're actually just coming off a state championship, but that didn't even matter to me. I was just trying to get involved. So I was at Tampa Jefferson, and then I was at Chamberlain High School as an assistant for 1 year and a head coach for 2 years. Met my wife. She's from Georgia. Kind of knew, like, if I was going to stay at the high school level for any length of time, then it was better to kind of climb up the ranks of Georgia. So got on at Norcross High School as a ninth grade coach. So I go from a head coach in Florida to a ninth grade coach in Georgia. Just kind of climbing the ladder. Fortunate enough to get a head job within a year at Lakeside DeKalb. We did some good things there. And then left Lakeside DeKalb for opportunity to go to Grayson High School. Get a great opportunity there in 2019. And then now I'm going into my second year at Duluth High School. It's in Georgia. It's a 7A program. It's about 30 minutes north of Atlanta in Gwinnett County. So phenomenal football in this county, in this area, phenomenal facilities. I mean, I've been, in Florida where I had, essentially, my entire football building was about the size of my office now. So again, very blessed with what we have, and we're always trying to improve. But I'm super, blessed and grateful to be where I'm at right now. So some of my mentors, had a unique opportunity to play for 4 different head coaches in high school: Jim Odo, Ed Susi, Bill Geiler, and Harry Van Arsdale. And so they had, it was from, Odo was wing T, Ed Susi was flex bone triple option, Bill Geiler was the spread. He's probably more known for his days as a defensive coordinator at Independence High School when they went on I think it was like a 70-plus game winning streak, which I think was the longest for a public school in the country at the time. So opened up Porter Ridge. I went there. And then Coach Van Arsdale was kind of power spread, the H-back stuff. Then the first coach I worked for, phenomenal mentor, Coach Mayo, currently the offensive coordinator this past season at Camden County. Again, just a phenomenal person. Keith Maloof he's the head coach at Norcross, 2-time state champion. And then I worked for Christian Honeycutt at Grayson, almost at Grayson University, but Grayson High School. And he won multiple state championships as a coach at Buford High School. So again, although I've been a head coach for the majority of my career, I had a unique experience for playing for 4 different coaches, and I've worked for some phenomenal guys as well. So I'd be remiss not to mention I have phenomenal football staff here at Duluth High School. Again, I think it's, I am successful because I have great, assistants. To the guys, I have this asterisk beside. They actually, Coach Brown, the linebacker coach, went on and became the head football coach at Eagles Landing, and they're going to do some awesome things under his leadership. And then Coach Frazier is leaving with him to become his offensive coordinator. So we do have some openings at Duluth High School. So if that's something you might be interested in, and I know, we might still got to figure out the teaching slots, but we will have some openings coming up here. But all my coaches are great follows. My offensive coordinator, Darren Spraga, does a phenomenal job on the offensive side of the ball, because I know that's what we're going to be talking about today. does a phenomenal job. I always compliment him. Like, he's one of the hardest workers in his work ethic, and as far as how he game plans and prepares, than anybody that I've ever worked with. So if you guys want to screenshot that or follow those guys, I can put it back up later. But just a phenomenal staff that I feel very great to have formed and be a part of. Next thing I want to share with you, and I'll probably keep this slide on every time I do a clinic, is when it's clinic season, it's important to learn and grow, but it's most important to act. Okay, so 70% of the people will take notes, see the benefits, and do absolutely nothing with it. So I challenge you to take at least one element from today's presentation and act on it. Perhaps you feel like you don't have a voice in your current role. Maybe you're a JV quarterback coach. Maybe you're not even coaching right now. But I know the one thing, I probably created my playbook 100 times before I ever called a play. I remember, going home on Christmas break or Thanksgiving break or whenever. I remember I used to signal to my parents to say, "Hey, what do you think this signal would be?" "Oh, that's Steeler. That's not." And just like any time that you can grow and learn something and take and see how you can implement it. And maybe you can't implement it right away at the place you're at, but maybe one day you will. I have a file on my phone right now where anytime I see like a quote, a powerful quote, maybe a way to do things, something I like, I have a file in my phone that I file it away. So maybe hopefully you can find something today that you can file away and use one day if you can't use it right away. And then I would like to say, what can you do today that your future self will thank you for? Are you a young guy that needs to create a playbook, that you've been talking about it? Get it done. Like, you can, I had my head coaching manual way before, I had a head coaching opportunity. Often if you get an interview for an offensive coordinator job and you don't have a playbook yet, and it's not even necessarily that you need tangible playbooks anymore, but it's good to have all your ideas in one spot because it helps you be able to convey that. So finally, again, knowledge is not power. Knowledge is only potential power. So action is power. So make sure you're using something, doing something with what you learned today. So again, hopefully you learned something. So today what we're going to be talking about is creating layups in a spread offense, a new way to think about the passing game. As I was putting this together, I only really talk about one concept. So we're not going to dive into a whole bunch of concepts, but I think you can see how the concept that I'm talking about and how it can relate to your offense, how we make it work in ours. We're going to go over I think it's our number 2 most ran concept that we ran this year. And you see I think it's super simple. And I think that's part of the secret to it. All right. So why pass the ball? So we're very fortunate. We had a young man that had a really good football year for us. Lonnie Ratliff, he's probably measurable wise, he's probably 6'1", probably 180 pounds. Runs pretty good. His highlights are pretty good. He's a great high school quarterback. I think we do a lot with him. Some of the college coaches that I've talked to might be a little bit critical of his arm path, but I think he's going to have the opportunity to play college football. Now, with that said, why do we throw the football, and why is that a part of us? Because one thing that when I got to Duluth, really, and I'm not talking bad about anybody, but really almost everybody in our county almost run very similar schemes on offense. Now, you might experience this in your region, maybe within your region, there's very similar concepts. Maybe they're in your in your geographic area, people kind of running similar concepts. And really in our county, it was very, 11 personnel. You have a H-back, running back, 3 wide receiver set. Like, that's what you're going to see if you watch a lot of people. Now, do we do some of that? Yes, but it's not who we are. So one of the things when I got here is I wanted to be different, and I thought that there's a lot of value in being different. Now, and the reason that I go into that is And you can say, I think there's kind of 5 ways to kind of take a program from bad to good and from good to great. But the one element that passing the ball kind of comes into is having a dynamic offense. Because I think having a dynamic offense will attract players. It'll get your basketball kids out. It'll get your track kids out. It'll get, that 8th grader that's thinking about going to 3 different schools. Maybe he decides your school because he thinks he'll have an opportunity to play more in that offense. And I'm not trying to talk bad about anybody else, but it's pretty, and maybe you can look at maybe your roster right now, your statistics from year end, is sometimes you'll find, hey, your top receiver, only had 12 catches on the year, or maybe only had 15 catches. And that's not uncommon at high school. However, because of how we've kind of put together the offense, I think we do a good job of getting, our best players touches all over the field. So, one of our, best, receivers, had 60 receptions. Our number 2 receiver had, I think it was 42 receptions. 3rd receiver had, I don't remember his receptions off the top of my head, but I think he had around 400 or 500 yards. So again, we did a lot with that. Now, with that said, we're also, we ran the ball too. But we'll go into that in a little bit more. So again, just some of the things to think about. If you're looking at a job, and a lot of times if you're getting a new job, it's probably for only a couple of reasons. Maybe you're at a really good program and your head coach left and you had an opportunity for promotion. That's one way. Another way is, hey, you are, you're assistant coach somewhere, you apply, and reason jobs come open often is because there's something wrong with the schools, right? They're underperforming or whatever the case may be. So a lot of times, the jobs that I've been at, because I was a head coach at 24, so it happened really fast in my career. But at 24, I didn't get a Buford, I didn't get a Carrollton, I didn't get a Cartersville, I didn't get a Gwinnett job. I started at at situations that might have been 3 or 4 wins, 2 wins, 1 win. And you're going to have essentially a bad program, and you got to change it. And one of the ways we wanted to change it is through our offense. Other things, again, all in support from administration. This varies so much from state to state. Even in Georgia, it varies from, if you've heard the term South Georgia versus Metro, it's a lot different. Pay is different. Commitment from administration is different. So like some schools in South Georgia, and there's some schools up, in the Metro, not as many, but some schools in South Georgia will have 2 football classes during the day. And some of you guys think that's probably crazy and you've never even heard of anything like that. But in Georgia, that's the kind of things that you'll get that kind of commitment. And when you get that kind of support and commitment from administration, it's a lot easier to turn programs around. Now, that doesn't always happen. There's a reason programs are broken. But, along with support from administration often becomes, pressures incorporated into that. So, I've been, at Grayson High School. It was phenomenal. I think we had 9 coaches in our football period. It was an hour and a half long, right in the middle of the day. Phenomenal. Great commitment from administration. Another thing, coordinators don't teach or have a limited schedule. Maybe your coordinators work half days. Again, this is ways from a program to go from bad to good and from good to great. Polarizing players, players attract players. Example in Georgia that kind of took place, when the 2016 movement to Grayson High School happened, a lot of the players wanted to play with Chase Bryce, ended up going to Clemson, then to Duke, and I think now he's on to he'll be playing at App State in the fall. Other high-profile quarterback that took place kind of in Georgia was Harrison Bailey. Was a quarterback at Marietta. They won the 2019 state championship when he was a senior. He was a Tennessee commit. So, again, players attract players. We touched on dynamic offense, and we'll elaborate that on in just a second. Having the youth program, creating a pipeline and development program, and then a booster club. We can go – I could probably have a whole presentation on talking about booster club, but it takes money to play 15 games. Another thing is, for you to keep good coaches, you got to be able to pay good coaches. And I know that varies, again, state to state, county to county. Some of you guys have restrictions on ability to be able to pay coaches, but for you to be able to keep your coaches, I told them, my coaches, as far as fundraising, I'm trying to raise as much money as I can, and I want all my coaches to be able to get in position to get that next job, to get that coordinator position, to get that head coach position. But then on the back end, I'm thinking I want to be able to treat my coaches, whether it's with pay, whether it's different schedule, whether it's getting them in the weight training, whether it's getting them in PE, be able to treat my coaches where they don't want to leave. And so that's important there. Next thing, so a little bit about our offense. Everything I got, I probably have stolen from someplace or another. I've maybe a phrase or a slogan I've gotten from different places. I try to give people credit, but and I think I got the term Chipotle offense on a podcast I was listening to with Doug Maddox, who's known for the R4 stuff. So we are no huddle spread offense that uses various tempos, shifts, and motions and executes with pinpoint precision. So last year, after my first year here, we were 1-9. We had a tough year. We did some decent things. We made progress. It was more about culture than it was about winning. And I had an opening at my defensive coordinator position. So I brought in, X amount of guys, interviewed them. And then one thing my offensive coordinator and myself, we would be in interviews, and we always wanted to know, we say, hey, what's more difficult, a team that goes tempo or a team that uses shifts and motions? And I would say out of the probably 15 guys that we talked to about the defense coordinator position, I want to say 14 out of the 15 says shifts and motions were more difficult to prepare for. And so we kind of took that to heart, and we kind of, that's just a big element of what we do now. So we're a spread offense, but we shift. Like we use wing T calls for shifts. And so we kind of, the rules are the rules. So, for instance, we have, I think it's, let's say hop, which is our H-back switches sides. Okay. Like that's the same. The H is going to switch sides in the wing T, and the H is going to switch sides in the spread. And both times it's going to flip the strength of the strength. And so we just thought that was simple, and we've kind of plugged it in, and it's been really good for us. It's kind of definitely gave us an element, and been able to help us disguise what we do, because what we do is really simple. But we present that illusion, as the second bullet point is, we present that illusion of sophistication. So it looks like we're doing a lot, but I might just be doing, we might be shifting just to run hitches. We might be shifting just to run slant flat. Something simple for us. So that Chipotle, the term Chipotle is, you think about, you have a few ingredients, but lots of combinations. So if you, like, when I describe the offense, I ask people what their orders are at Chipotle. And for those of you who might not know, Chipotle is a burrito place. They have, you pick either you want a shell, you want a burrito, or you want a bowl. Okay. Then you go to your meat. Do you want X, Y, or Z? You have different meats. You have chicken, carne asada, you have tofu. Then you go on. So, and you go down essentially the ordering row, and you're just telling them what ingredients you want to have. Now, I think I did the math one time, and I came up with the number of actually how many different combinations there are at Chipotle. I don't know it off the top of my head, but again, simple ingredients. Chicken is chicken. Now, and that's kind of how we like, hitches is hitches. Smash concept is smash concept. Now, what we want to do is, instead of running smash from 2x2, we might start in 3x1, motion somebody across. We might start in 3x1, motion somebody to 2x2. We could condense it. So, but like smash is still smash. So that's kind of our idea there, is we're, it's still chicken, it's still steak, it's simple ingredients. But we want to mix it up to where it seems a lot more sophisticated than kind of what our players are having to think through. A lot of times when we're game planning, is we're trying to, I got this from Blair Harden when I was on Thanksgiving break, and I was a young coach. I was probably 24 years old, and I just shadowed a team for Thanksgiving week, and it was my high school. And I remember hearing, they went through the stats and they said, this kid's had 15 tackles all year. Let's make him have to have the game of his life to beat us. And I remember they had schemed up a couple different ways. They were going to run a speed option at him. They're going to jet sweep to him. Make their worst player, their weakest player, have to make plays to stop you. Then all the while, we talk about keeping our offensive line scheme simple. That was a big thing that we did in this season. We won't get into that, but we made my offense coordinator does a phenomenal job of how we simplified our offensive line schemes. And then finally, if you watch, and again, I'm careful about, my coach was like, don't give away all our secrets. And again, that's not my goal. My goal is for help, other coaches grow. But if you put on my quarterback's highlights, you'll see, it's a lot of, the ball is out of his hands pretty quickly. And we keep it really simple in how we do things. But I think it's still unique at the same time. All right. So again, now I've also been at clinics and coaches are just saying, hey, that kid runs a 4.4. That kid is going to Georgia. That kid is going to Florida. We have some phenomenal kids, but we're not like riddled with Power 5 talent. I think so. Our two all-region offensive linemen, they're probably going to be small college guys. They're probably both right about 6 foot, about 280. But it's more about how they do it. They push each other they do a phenomenal job pushing one another in the weight room. And really, they've been starting since sophomores. They're about to be seniors this year, so I'm excited to have them back for the third year as starters. Niall Irvin had a phenomenal offseason, was our running back, had 1,400 all-purpose yards. He's going to Glenville State. Jaden Jones, as a freshman, started at outside linebacker. As a sophomore, started at quarterback. I came in, played him at receiver, primarily Wildcat quarterback, plays some safety as well. We did a lot to get him touches this year. Rashawn Spencer is he actually moved in here from out of state, and then honestly, and I don't think he would mind me saying this, he was on the fence about even playing this season. He kind of fell out of love with football a little bit. Kind of that sophomore slump, so to speak. I'm sure you guys, coaches, know sometimes it's hard to get those sophomores. Freshman ball is freshman ball. There's a lot of playing time and opportunities, but you kind of get into that sophomore window where you're not quite breaking the starting lineup. You're not maybe getting the reps. Maybe you're not, getting on special teams. So you kind of had that sophomore slump, but was kind of feeling down about it. We very fortunately actually talked him back into coming out, joined us back for summer workouts. Spring ball was canceled here. And he had a really big year, really explosive for us, 42 receptions, 829 yards, 8 touchdowns. And then Lonnie Ratliff, very special player. I think he is a D1 talent. With the quarterback position is pretty unique it depends on what people are looking for. But I think he's definitely has a lot of arm talent, can use his legs. But I say all of that to say, I have some phenomenal kids that really bought into what we're doing. But at the same time, it's not Florida running by, a kid that's never going to play, football again. We have kids, and how we kind of think about our offenses. We're trying to, we really do scheme people up quite a bit. And if you watch, if you just play on the quarterback's highlights, you'll kind of see different ways, he has. We talk about connecting the dots with our layups. So we're, very fortunate. We had a good year this year, number 1 offense in yards per game in our Georgia's highest classification. So very happy about that. Now I'll warn you, I think stats are kind of a double-edged sword. I think when teams lose, that's when they talk about stats. So again, we're excited about being able to throw the ball and run the ball effectively this year. But at the same time, I know stats don't get people recruited, but I think what stats do confirm is people are going to get opportunities. We're not going to turn around and hand the ball in the power I 30 times a game. Now, if I could and I can win 16 games or 15 games doing it, I might do that, to be honest. But again, at bad programs, you probably don't have the talent to turn around and hand the ball off 30 times a game and be successful. Even more proud than I am of, again, our offense this year. We had the best record in 25 years. We went 6-4. Super excited about that. We actually lost a 3-way tiebreaker for the last playoff spot in our region. So a little bit disappointed there. We actually, I think we had 3 coaches and 12 players actually ended up catching COVID going into right after our last game. So we probably ultimately wouldn't be able to play that playoff game anyway, but just barely missed out on a playoff spot. But really happy about the work the senior class had put in and the buy-in that they've had. So talking a little bit more about defining layups. So I remember, so we do skits in our preseason. We weren't able to do it this year. We do like a kind of team building preseason, where kids can actually do skits for their coaches, and coaches will end up doing skits or players, and it's just phenomenal team building. But I remember one of actually Jaden Jones was the player in the middle, number 10. He was mimicking me, and he grabbed his head and or shirt or something, ripped off a whistle, and was like, just throw hitch. And I talk about I want my quarterback to fill rhythm and to just to complete easy passes. And so that's kind of I kind of coined it now as layups. And so I think of we want to have an offense that's full of layups, and we'll talk about it a little bit more. And then we want to protect our layups. Like, what is your play that you run that you want to run with the game on the line, and you need 6 yards? What's the play you want to run? So, and then you think about that. So for a layup, again, a one-handed basket, you guys know what layup is. Right beside the hoop. Again, a relative easy task. And so that's kind of what I want to think of our passing offense. So you need to ask yourself a question. What can my quarterback or my offense do with relative ease? And now I put mesh on here, and just because I know there's some coaches, got a lot of rules on it, so on and so forth. Now I'm not a mesh hater. We do run our own version of mesh. But if you think about the two plays and just comparing them, all hitches versus mesh, again, what's the easiest to coach? Like and you guys coming over, you guys have all had limited off seasons, what's the easiest thing to put in? One thing, we had to move in from Mississippi last year. Kid was super talented. And I kind of just, in hindsight, I think what we were doing in 2019 was a little bit too complicated for him to get on the field. But when you have a really good, talented kid right there, how do you get those kids on the field? And so for us, I think about ROI, and I might have it here on another screen. Is this play worth it? And so I just kind of just compare the two, because really mesh and hitches, you're getting a horizontal stretch. They're both really getting the same thing accomplished with different stimuluses. So what's the easiest thing? And what can you execute with relative ease? And then how you can protect it is another huge part that I will ask my coaches, when we go into a game planning process. All right. So the next thing, I think, I put this slide on here, and it kind of stems from maybe a quote I heard from Mike Leach. I couldn't find it when I was looking it up, but a system quarterback, and the term was originally meant to diminish or the inflated statistics of players who run spread offenses. Now, a lot of players are running spread now, so things have changed. You're seeing a lot more players change, or I guess the term transition from those spread offenses in college to the NFL game. But it's essentially meant that the players had strong numbers because they ran an effective offensive system rather than being extraordinary talent. So I want to challenge that idea. Like, why isn't your quarterback a system quarterback? So why not create an offensive system for your players to excel in rather than to rely on a star? Why not create an offense that has easy throws and can be repeated with pinpoint precision? I talk another term I use, and I'm coaching a little bit 7-on-7 in Georgia right now in the off season. But something I said yesterday a couple of times was, I like the product, but I don't like the process. So it's essentially like if you zoom out a little bit, you think, like the goal is to win. So as long as we win, that's great. But did we do it the right way? So if you have, let's say your quarterback, makes a wrong read, but you throw a touchdown. Well, I like the product, but you got to be able to understand the process. Did you make the correct reads? Was your footwork correct? Why did you have to take a hit here? So on and so forth. So thinking about that, we kind of, and I'll show you some ways that what we did to kind of simplify our offense, but really just turn up the effectiveness tremendously. All right, so kind of I threw this on here. It's kind of I don't know, not exposing us, but one thing that we struggled with was curl. And I have the 4 different variations that we ran in 2019. I was talking to my coach when I was putting the slide together. I think we actually took out the curl concept completely. We might have had it, but it wasn't in our top 5 or 6. We might, because it's simple, we might have kept putting in a game plan, but I'm pretty sure, we just wanted to get away from it. So again, we talked about how we read it. So if I look, the first, I think you guys can see my mouse. You see my mouse? So the first thing we would do in this top left was how we first did it. And so what we would say is we want to look at this vertical space right here. We call this route a bang 8 right here. And we're going to look at this vertical space. So if it's a 2-high safety, what does this safety do? I think a lot of times coaches probably overcomplicate things. But a great thing for you to do is the boundary safety is going to tell you a lot about what the defense is in. So we're looking into the backside safety here. If he comes down to cover 3, is that window open? If he rolls to the middle of the field, like a middle third, if he stays, does that cap the space? And what we found was the quarterback just kept hanging on that backside, and he never would progress. So we thought of our that bang 8 to kind of be like a pre-snap. First, as soon as you catch the ball, we want to take our eyes there just to kind of as an indicator of where to go. And what we ended up happening is we probably threw the bang 8, out of the time. We never actually threw the physical curl route except once or twice, and I don't think we completed it. We overthrew it once, and I don't know if we got it because it ended up the way a quarterback was reading it or how we were teaching it ended up being the third read. So again, it was a very low percentage concept for us. We kind of played with our footwork. We had some and you guys are, there's probably some guys in here that might be curl flat might be your number 1 concept, right? There's your gift, okay? And then just high-low the flat defender, and it should be easy. Now we have, I have something that, kind of in store this year that we should be able to put in a curl flat concept with kind of a different stimulus this year, but it just hasn't been good for us in the past. Whether, and I think that's a lot of reasons why. It might be overcoached. It might just be the quarterback's comfortable. Maybe we're confusing the quarterback because we have done a ton of stuff with it. And we kept kind of tweaking the concept itself. And I think we probably at the end of the day just made it more complicated. And hopefully ultimately in 2020, we decided to throw it out. So I kind of say that just kind of not to expose us, but just say, hey, that is just kind of an example of, kind of the downfall. And then how we looked back and we said, man, that's not layups. It should be super easy. I know there's probably an easy way to read it. But between overcoaching and just the quarterback not getting it, if the quarterback doesn't get it, whatever factor, it is for it not to work, and then we ultimately decided not to call it in 2020. All right. So layups, talking about that a little bit more. What can the quarterback execute with his eyes closed? What can the receivers run with their eyes closed? What can the O-line? What's easy for the O-line to protect? If your quarterback struggles throwing the curl or any different route, why are you throwing it? So I know some quarterbacks do not like throwing the dig route. Some quarterbacks struggle throwing slant routes. Whatever it is, if you know your quarterback is not great at throwing everything. I promise you. And maybe he looks great in the t-shirt and shorts, but maybe when there's live action and there's bullets flying and you got to rush, all of a sudden, he keeps sailing a crossing route. Whatever it is, you need to know your quarterback. Again, is it worth it? What's the footwork? What's the read? Are you confusing them? Is the return worth the investment? Is this something we can fix in season, or is this something we need to change in the off season? But I think once you start building your plays around the idea of having easy throws or essentially layups in your offense, the confidence in your play calling will go through the roof. So we really like the two things. I'm like, what are our layups? And then how do we protect our layups? And when I say protect, I'm talking about, we will say, like, I use the term lookalikes. Like, I want the same motion, formation. I want the stimulus to be the same. But then all of a sudden, instead of running, smash, I'm running scissors, just for an example. All right. So how do you execute? So my first question that I'm always asking is, can we protect it? When I was a OC in Florida, or head coach OC, man, I was trying to go 5 wide, and I was humbled so fast when a team went 3 down and brought, it was the grandson of like an NFL player, athlete, probably the best athlete on that team, and just kept bringing him off the edge, smacking my quarterback. We go empty, and you're going, with a big drop, and you can't protect it. Man, that was really a humbling experience. So I've kind of, recalibrated myself to say, hey, the first question I'm going to ask is, can we protect it? And can we keep it simple for the offensive line? Now, I got a couple clips I'm going to show you guys, and you're going to see that, there's, our quarterback takes some hits, and it's either one's on him, one's on the receiver, and one's on the O-line. And 3 different times he takes hits. Another thing is quarterback, and how do you get, because the layups have got to be, the focus has got to be on execution. So one thing that was really a point of emphasis for us going into last season was our footwork. And actually, I think it was I don't remember if it was on Coach G's or if it was on another one. I think it was on Coach G's, where Phil Longo came in and was talking about the quarterback footwork. And then after hearing that, I was like, we got to simplify our footwork. So like before in 2019, we might have done a rock step. We might have done a 2-step drop. We did a rhythm 3, a big 3. And it would just change from concept to concept. And it just, not how the quarterback, like, it just did not, like, it was more like, if your quarterback's feet's not right, his head's going to be wrong too. Because his feet aren't going to be timed up with the concept, so on and so forth. So what we ended up doing is we simplified our footwork for the quarterback into 3 different footwork. We have a gun 1, which is just a 1-step, set your back, set your hallway, throw to your target. A gun 3, okay, reach, cross plant. And then finally is our hybrid. And what that looks like is we could go into it more, but, is a 1-step. And then if you don't like it, it's a cross plant. So essentially it would be like, hey, there's a quick concept that your window is going to need to be, your back foot's going to need to be set with a 1-step timing. And then if you don't like it, when you progress, you'll cross plant. I know some people do. That would, if like example for that would be if you did like how I know some people are marrying a quick game on one side and a intermediate concept on the other. That would be a primary example of that. So if you had stick on one side and you're running curl flat on the other, so that would be a hybrid step for us. So it'd be a 1 for the stick, and then we'd cross plant when we're flipping our eyes and our shoulders and our hips to work our backside concept. So we really simplified it. Now, is our quarterback great at hybrid? No. Is it something we need to continue to work on? Absolutely. But just simplifying it, I think, made a lot of sense. And it's now we have 3 things that we need to practice rather than like all these different steps and footworks that we were kind of trying to do. So a couple other things, train your eyes whenever possible, routes on air, additional quarterback meeting times. One thing that we did going into 2020 is we started eliminating routes of our offense. So because, I'm sure you guys have heard like the 10,000 hour rule. You need a lot of reps. So like if you're an offensive guy, you're a rep guy. Like you believe we need reps to execute. And I believe that to an extent. So what we wanted to do is rather than teaching, 50 routes in your offense, we simplified it and try to eliminate routes. Now, I gave you the one example that we actually took out and then put back in. So we looked at every route combination in our offense, and we try to, again, simplify the teaching and multiply the reps. So, for example, we eliminated the arrow route. So on flood, rather than having an arrow for number 3, we changed to a bubble. However, we found, through kind of watching film and talking to our defensive coaches, that defenses weren't triggering as much on bubbles compared to air routes. Now, that just could be from week to week, but we noticed, hey, if we're running an air route, that flat defender is more inclined to take it versus a bubble route, and where they don't chase negative routes, they might mirror it. That might cloud the window up a little bit more. Now, another thing, in that regard is we're not really a bubble, like an inside run bubble team. Now our default is inside run bubble, but we probably RPO. I don't know if there's a run play we're not RPOing, to be honest with you. Like, we are probably have a RPO tagged to everything. Now, even our default would be a bubble screen, so first off the line. And now if it's outside guys off the line, it's just a now screen. But because we didn't throw it enough, people weren't triggering. So ultimately, we decided we need both. But that'd be an example of, hey, like looking at routes in your offense and saying, hey, do we need both? Are you pressure cutting your dig, or do you have a speed dig and a pressure cut dig, or do you have two steps to this post and then you snap the dig flat? So, how are you teaching it? How are you coaching it? Because we wanted, and again, quarantine was a blessing for some of us because we really got a chance to look at it. I had my receiver coach and my offensive coordinator go through every route of our offense, and really we put a PowerPoint together of how we're going to coach it. And so it was really good. Now, I don't know if we necessarily used that, but I think it was good as kind of a quality control for us. All right. So talking about how we read things, and we kind of do it a little bit differently. So, you can have pure progression, which is, your 1, 2, 3, just reading, hey, is he open, give him the ball. You could key a defender, which is your high-low your corner. You could inside out your flat defender. You have your R4 people. I say people, I've read all the books. Rhythm, read, rush, release. I've heard the ACTS acronym, which is advantage, principle, concept, third, fix, scramble. But for us, we use GIF, read, react, and move. Kind of gives us a little bit of flexibility. So it could be a straight progression, or our read, our second part could be that could actually contain two routes. We're actually reading a defender. So it kind of gives us a little bit of flexibility within what we do. So I touched on this earlier, constraint plays, lookalikes. How can I get the same concept with different stimulus? So we do a lot with formations, motions, shifts. However, you got to think, hey, do any of these impact the defense? Could they change the defense or the read? If you start off in empty and you bring in somebody to the backfield, do they stay in their empty coverage, or are they modified? So I think that's really important, with how within the game planning part of it. If we read it differently, I'm not a fan. So if this concept, doesn't for it to work against this team or this coverage, and we have to read it differently or progress differently, I'm not a fan. I want everything to be built in. I want your rules to be built in. I want in week 1 where you're going against a 3-3 sack cover 1 team versus, week 5 when you're going against a 4-2-5 cover 4 team. I want our reads to still stay the same. So again, not a fan if I'm having to change how we read it from week to week. And I think with being simple, you're able to do that. And I hopefully I can give you some examples. All right. So the concept that I have on here, and I have some film of it. It might be the next slide. Is we talk about sprint smash and sprint draw, and I'll show you just how the easy throws are. And it's coming up. All right. So again, define what your quarterback does well. Build concepts around that. Are you running plays or are you running offense? And so that's where the lookalikes come in to me, right? So if it looks alike, then you're complementing, you're protecting that play. And so that's when it starts becoming more of an offense, right? So you run power to set up play action. That's the same thing we're doing, but now instead of sprint draw, I'm running, instead of sprint smash, now I'm running sprint draw. So let me flip it over. You have to make sure. I'm going to slide this over. You don't see it? Let me share. Change this. You can see it now? Yeah. Okay. So I don't, let me see if I can, let me do this. Optimize video clip. So I don't know if it'll be perfect, but all right. So this is last game of the year. Actually, my quarterback that got twisted around in game game 9 and fell on his shoulder. So we actually, I think he threw for 115 yards, but they're all on pop passes and no pass over 5 yards. So we brought in our sophomore quarterback, had very limited reps. But I think he does a good job on this. It just happened to be the first one to kind of give you an example. So this is our concept. This is sprint smash for us. We call this an out route, which is an expanded hitch. Splitting the numbers in the sideline. Corner route is our read, and then we're progression to our react. So this would be more of kind of a pure progression here. Footwork for our quarterback. If I'm throwing the gift, it should be out on the 5th step. So you'll see he's a little bit late here. We actually get a bust, but I kept it in. So you see him sprinting out. So if you just keep your eyes on our out route right here, it looks covered at first, boom, and then he expands. But the quarterback, he actually starts his eyes here, takes his eyes, and I know I got it broken up, takes his eyes to the corner route. The corner route actually freestyles it, okay? He actually runs to the post, so it's a bust. But what the quarterback does a great job of is he comes back to the easiest throw. One thing I'll say at practice is don't make a bad situation worse. Hey, this guy busted a route. Is that bad? Yes. Would he be open if he ran the correct route? Probably. However, he didn't. So don't try to force it across your body to the post. Just come back over here. So the two options I would have said for the quarterback is, hey, just keep running or throw this over this guy's head. Now, that'd be one rule that I would change about high school football as far as allowing, quarterbacks to throw it away. But I think he does a good job coming back to the easy throw, catches it. And this might be, first or second down. It's like a, 4-yard, 5-yard gain. All right, next thing. Now, this is a little bit this is kind of a game plan adjust for. So we actually do a switch smash here. So, again, it's a different stimulus, but it's the same concept. Quarterback's rolling out. We're still sprinting to it, okay? We have to change our stem a little bit. We got to stem in, but we're still breaking to the corner. But our gift is still we call it our out route. Okay. And then our back, we have sprint out rules, which is our backside boss, which is our cross dig. So he's sprinting out. The gift is there, likes it. Now this is a 3rd and long. I think we're on the 2-yard line, and he does a phenomenal job. Again, it's an easy throw. Is it going to be a first down? If he just gets tackled, probably not. But catches it, gives it in space. It's a layup. You're throwing, you're sprinting out, you're shorting, you're making the throw short. If your quarterback can throw, to me, this concept is one of the easiest there is. I actually got this from when I was at Grayson, and Coach Dante Williams was the offensive coordinator there. He's the offensive coordinator at Collins Hill. They played for a state championship this year. But this was one of the things that I really liked this concept because I just thought it was so simple for the quarterback. So again, sprinting out, catches it, creates space. Now, if this receiver does a little bit of work, we might have a better play. But again, we'll take that as a big play on 3rd down. Next thing, let's see. Again, nice and simple. Quarterback might be a little late on it. And this route, sometimes that I'm watching, it drifts a little bit. He needs a snap open, but we're catching it. Or is this it's a completion on 1st down. Then we got next, again, another opponent, still in the same thing. Now, are you shrinking the field a little bit when you sprint out? Sure. But I think it's an easy way. It's an easy throw for the quarterback. Now, I got some notes on here. This guy should be under Sam over Mike. He takes it too vertical, so he never comes into the window. Poor protection. You see the notes on here. Great job by a quarterback standing in. Because, guys, I'm not – I can run some decent scout team quarterback. I can. I'll toot my horn for that. I enjoy running a little scout team quarterback. But I know I can complete that. That is open to me. And is it always that open? No. You saw the previous clip. It's not always that open. Do we get great routes everywhere? No. Do we need to coach it up and get improved from it? Yes. but that's a layup throw for me. Now, does this quarterback do a good job flipping his hips and throwing across his body a little bit? Yes. But it's something we work on all week, and we'll talk about practice here and how we do things. Again, that was a good job. It was like first down, gain of 8 yards. All right, so now we got I know I'm cutting close on time. So this is a quarterback right here. What he's trying to do is he's holding the ball. Ball should be out if you're going to your gift. Ball should be out right now. Quarterback's trying to get the big play, which is on him. I was on him like the corner comes open after you hit the out route enough. Don't try to make a play because it end up being it'll just end up being bad news. Again, poor route, no head and shoulder fakes, doesn't stick his foot in the ground. But the quarterback's holding like the ball. I count by his fifth step. That's the fifth step. Is he open? Yes. Take it. That ball should be out. And kind of ends up taking a hit, but I think that hit's on the quarterback. That if he would have taken it earlier, he would have been, he wouldn't have had to take that hit. That's one thing that we think about in our offense is, we want to manage hits on the quarterback, especially in the day and age of the running quarterback. We kind of manage how much we run them, how much, because we want our quarterback to play, 10 games. Because we think he's a special player. We don't want him to have to take unnecessary hits. All right, let me I'm going to skip forward just a couple. Actually, I'll just show this one real quick. So we shifted over, it looks like. So we go tight into the boundary 3-by-1, move them to the field goal 2-by-2, and now we're doing condensed smash. Is that, again, not great routes by our corner route, but that's an easy throw and catch in our offense. So now one thing we talked about lookalikes. Now we don't run the same routes, but we have the sprint out action. And I got a few more clips. Here we go. All right, so here is, we do some sprint out where we run flood and we run sail and stuff. So that might be what we, kind of what we're making it look like here. But sprint draw was a great play for us. We changed the way we block it. We don't always block it the same way, depending on the front, but it was a really good play for us to complement our sprint out game. Trying to protect it. Again, these guys, you see them notice late, all of a sudden, running backs having a big day. Got one or two more.
Coach, there was a question here in regards, I think the play earlier was asked, what do you complement this with? Because the running back was lined up in front of the quarterback. So it was just asked to complement that with.
So he's probably cheating a little bit too much. We don't do a whole lot of this. I guess it's probably, he cheats up. I mean, it's not something that we now we start our back in pit, like so one of our, like how we start our back in pistol, and we call it tick him to either side. So we start him in pistol and then we kind of adjust him based on the play. So there's not a whole lot of time. You can see at this play, like he's starting in pistol. So you can kind of see some of the stuff we do. There's four by nub into the boundary, move the bunch over, and now we shift our running back down. So there's not a whole lot of time to adjust to our running back. But I would agree to you as far as he's probably cheating up a little bit too much, but it should happen fast so it doesn't really give us too much of a giveaway. Let's see. But yeah, so I don't want to, I know we, had kind of, I'll roll through the last couple of slides and then, any more questions. But, one thing for us, once our game plan is in, we want reps. So Sunday, we want our layups installed. On Sunday night, Monday, we're going to trim the fat, make sure we have our lookalikes in. So make sure that we're complementing certain plays. So again, we do a lot of walkthroughs for us. We do 30 minutes Sunday, 15 to 20 minutes every day pre-practice, 20 minutes, 25 minutes on Thursday. And then on Friday, before we do pregame meal, our starters and reserves are going to go through our openers. Another thing with, being careful with reps is, I kind of, we are kind of a feed the cat school. We want to be fast and fresh on Friday nights. I know that was a lot of the buzz kind of on quarantine. So that was really, something that we wanted to think about. So how do we manage their legs while still getting reps? So one thing that we did is we put in, so on plays on air, instead of having 5 guys run, so we really only have, 2 quarterbacks in our program this year, which is, kind of crazy, but it's just kind of the state of our program, of where we're at. So we don't want to, even if I throw, we got 3 guys, and if, there's still 5 guys running on routes. So, we really are only going to throw, our first 2 reads a lot of times when we're doing plays on the air, just to save their legs. So one thing I heard Kevin Kelly say on a clinic is he said, what's your probability? Like, we're designing, like as coaches, we are designing these plays. We're probably throwing to this guy. I heard what's the head coach at Texas now? Sarkisian say, he always is it Devontae Smith? Yeah. He always put Devontae as either the first or second read in a concept. And he got a lot of touches. So, we got to think as, who you probably throwing it to. And that's just another way to save legs. Like, hey, if we're not, we hadn't hit that backside dig all day, or really all year. Like, that's our last read, our 4th or 5th progression. Then we probably don't need to run it too many times in practice to make sure they got it. So that's one thing. Twitter, I'm a big fan. I'm pretty active on it. But some of my favorite offensive follows, Coach Shaq, Coach Dan Casey, and Coach Alex Kirby all do phenomenal jobs putting out content. And it's always a great place to learn from and grow from. I tried to, I try to post a clip every Tuesday and Thursday, just kind of the play of the day type thing. Also, if you guys don't mind, man, I appreciate you guys, hear me talk. I hope I didn't talk too many circles. I know hopefully you guys can give me some solid feedback, but if you don't mind, man, I was up pretty late last night. My wife was wondering what the heck I was doing. I was probably up to I don't know if it's 2 a.m., but I was probably wasn't in bed until about 2 a.m. But, if you wouldn't mind, give me a shout out on Twitter. I'd appreciate that. And if you link this, that would be phenomenal. If you got any feedback or any questions, please, make sure you tweet me or direct message me. If you have any specific questions, maybe you're a local guy, but you want to come meet with our staff, we'd be more than welcome to. There's a lot of stuff that I don't go over in these because I do think, that we do some good stuff. So there's some elements that we don't put in here at the same time, just to protect our stuff. But if you'd like to come meet in person, you're not in our region, then I'd be more than welcome to chop it up with you guys. Or if you wanted to do a Zoom with any of my coaches and myself, we'd be open to that. So thank you guys for that. And then if you guys have any questions, I got this. Let's see if I need to. Let's see. Yeah, I couldn't see anybody's faces. All right. Yeah. If you guys have any questions, we're good.
Yeah, guys, if you guys have any questions, man, just drop it in the chat. Obviously, Coach shared his contact information if anybody wants to follow up. But always a pleasure to get Coach Jones on here. Like I said, if you guys haven't checked his first talk out, man, definitely something you want to look into. I thought it was extremely insightful for a lot of different reasons. And, it's absolutely worth checking out. Do you mind sharing? A coach asked would you mind sharing your practice plan offline?
Yeah, we can do that. So I do it. I could probably pull one up, but yeah, that's no problem. You have one right here? Oh, that's our workout. Yeah, that's no problem. Yeah, so what we do, I got them all filed away right here, I think. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah, that's no problem. I'll be more than happy to do that. I think my face will be big here, though. So we kind of break it down. We do a trifold, and I think it's nice and nifty how we do it here. Just kind of a quick outline. This is our special. Every coach has a unique practice script on how we do it. But this is a Wednesday. So we had to do it a little bit differently just because of how we had quarantine and get people from digital to in person. So our start times are a little different, but we'd start off offensively. We got loose by doing noose and pat and go, and then some old kind of not old school, but there's some Georgia guys that do something called team takeoff. Ours is a little bit different. Ours is just like good on good is what we call team takeoff. So our Wednesday's team takeoff was 2-minute drill because our mindset with that is we want to start fast. It gets pretty chirpy between offense and defense. Just really the competitive juices start flowing. So there's some good stuff there. In this particular practice plan, we had 10 days of everyday drill or 10 minutes of everyday drill, water break, 10 minutes of walkthrough for offense. Then we go to offensive inside for 10 and defensive 7-on-7. Then we flipped it to defensive inside, offensive 7-on-7, then a water break. And so like when we say water break, it's usually we talk about quarters of practice. So we have first quarter practice, second quarter practice. I will address the team at halftime, just like in a regular game. We'll talk about, hey, there's some things you did good. There's some things we need to change. Maybe our energy's up or down. Then we go through our team versus scout, focus offense, focus defense, off the field. And this day was a Wednesday. We have a game the next day. This is a little bit different on this schedule. We actually put on film here, and then we did yoga afterwards. But this is not a everyday thing for us. This is probably a unique example for us. But yeah, I'll be happy to share offline how we do things. I see one of the comments say can't go broke making a profit. That's something we say all the time here. That's big for us too.
Could you expand on the ouch route?
The out route. Yeah. So our ouch route is it's just a hitch, but instead of running straight, you're running at an angle. So our landmark for that would be from halfway between the bottom of the numbers and the sideline is where you're running your hitch. So we call it an ouch route, which essentially, you're starting at the bottom of numbers and you're expanding and catching it there. And we're only running the ouch verse. We're really only sprinting the smash for us. Now you can see we didn't throw a corner out at all. And maybe that's something we'll look through, in our off season and see like, hey, why not? Maybe we didn't call it enough. If you're not taking away the ouch route, then I'm gonna keep throwing the ouch route because that's a layup for me. If like you said, you can't go broke making a profit. Because you saw, I think there wasn't a completion on there under 5 yards, I don't think. And it's just, catch. One of the receivers did a great job, tight turn, get upfield. And so, that's kind of how we do our out route. I'm glancing at the chat box right here. Any other questions? Yeah, Coach, feel free to message me offline. I'll be happy to share stuff with you. I got my practice plan originated from what's another guy? What's the guy in Virginia? Thad Wells. That dude's phenomenal too. Yeah. So I found he described it, and I'm like I'm pretty good on Excel. Like I love probably too much. so I kind of took it to the next level. But yeah, so it enables me as a head coach to input a different version on every single coach. And I think he sells it, man. But I don't know. Let's see. All right, is your sprint out a day one installment or just an in-game adjustment? So, all right, now I don't. So I'm a big. If we don't run it in practice, I'm not trying to run it in a game. So like our in-game adjustments, maybe I'm probably in hindsight and just looking at what we do, maybe we need to do a little bit more in-game adjustments because I'm very kind of, I believe in our game plan process and I think we need to practice it for us to be able to run it. So there's an element to that for sure. But, actually sprint out is probably I'd have to go back and look at our installs and see our notes and stuff. It's not like a day. I wouldn't say it's a day one thing for us. But it is a really easy throw. It's not our only sprint out game either. So you saw, it was, however, our number one sprint concept that we ran. I think we had 427 plays of offense last year. We ran it 15 times. And you guys saw the good and the bad. So I didn't show all of them. And then I think we only ran sprint draw in games 6 times, but it was like super effective for us. It was like 30 yards, 18 yards, 9 yards. So it was really good because a lot of times those backers like to get out and flow, and all of a sudden you just handed it underneath. Yeah. So other than sprint draw, what are your main how do we protect the concept? All right, so you got to think what a big thing that we do is we're gonna change our formations. So our formations, our shifts, and our motions are another way for us. So I'm trying to change the stimulus. So I might run sprint draw. When we run a sprint draw from a condensed set, I got a speed out by number 1 instead of outs route, and then a quarter out by number 2. So that would be a way. Again, is it exactly the same? No, but it's the same type of throw. It's like we're running towards it, we're running to it, so it's the same type of throw. So you think about like we can run as far as formations go. We're going to give a lot of different formations in a game. We'll probably take around 9 into a game plus, and that doesn't include all our shifts and motions. But we'll have probably about 9 core formations. Maybe it's not always 9. It might only be 7 one week, but we're going to disguise it pretty good and motion to it. But sprint draw will be another good. Now, if you are like, maybe there's maybe that safety's getting really over the top. I wouldn't sprint to this, but you can run a shake concept with a corner post by number 2. So I know some people like doing a hitch and go by number 1, but now you're getting from the same route stems. Now you're getting different routes. If you get, one thing for us, we change the way we read. If we get getting that corner route, now, we protect it. We do run scissors, but how we read is a little bit different, and we don't sprint out to it. So specifically how we protect that sprint out, we don't typically, like outside of formations and the sprint draw, we're not doing a whole lot. But sprint draw came about, I think, in week 4 or 5, maybe week 3. Because I was asking my coach, how can we protect it? Because we're really good at it. Just throwing, it's been really effective for us, but how do we protect it? And I was like, you know what? When I was at this school, 4 years ago, we ran sprint draw, and then we kind of just, played with it, and it was really effective for us the times we ran it. Appreciate everybody coming in, man. If you guys have anything else, if not, please feel free to DM me. Coach G, thank you for having me on, man.
Anytime. And no, thank you for jumping on, man.
Absolutely.
Coach, obviously, awesome presentation, and Coach put that together, man, and just it just goes to show how willing coaches are to give back to the community. So shout out to you, Coach Jones, for doing that. And fellas, definitely reach out to him. Follow up and talk some ball, man. He's got some great concepts there, and they're doing a lot of great things there. So appreciate all the coaches for jumping in and spending the time with us this afternoon. Hopefully everybody enjoys the rest of their day, whether you're off or whatever, maybe at practice later. I know I'm about to head out in just a few minutes. So, hopefully, and it looks like,
Coach. There you go, man.
And honestly, Coach, the rain cleared up. So, I mean,
I see the no, man, it's still overcast here, man. It's still overcast.
No, it's overcast, but there's no rain in the forecast, so we may actually be able to throw for the first time in 3 practices. So.
There you go. I hear you. I see the
that ball was all over the place, man. So you already know. But appreciate it, Coach.
Absolutely.
Always a pleasure getting you on, man.
Yeah, thank you.